How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm glad you came.
You take me some.
Y'all ready?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Welcome to the July 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Changes to the agenda.
Yeah, I just have one thing. If we could add something under new business, which would be reappropriation of ambulance budget for quick response vehicle
You said under new business.
under new business.
I move that we adopt the agenda with the addition under new business for the reappropriation of funds for ambulance.
Motion made by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes 5-0. Thanks. Special presentation recognizing Dr. Peter Gretz, Superintendent of the Year.
Yep. So first, sorry, I'm trying to get rid of some stuff. Nope, I'm not trying to get rid of those. Let's go. Kelly, do you know why this is doing that?
Ice cream.
No.
At the very top, see it says meeting.
Yep, that one.
Did that do anything? No. There you go.
Yeah, hold on, let me see that. Why am I sure why it's showing like that? We'll go ahead and get started. Sorry about that. So yeah, the next item up on the agenda is a resolution recognizing Peter M. Gretz for being named the 2025 Virginia Superintendent of the Year. So I think if we want to, I think first, if the board would take action on that, we've got a resolution to read as well, and we'll kind of come up in front of the.
I move the Board of Supervisors approve a resolution entitled, "A Resolution Recognizing Peter M. Gretz for being named the 2025 Virginia Superintendent of the Year."
Second.
Anybody want discussion?
No.
I mean, he's not dead.
We have a
Well deserved, that's all.
motion made by Mr. Sheridan, seconded by Mr. Hodge, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0.
So if you want to come up right up front here and sing Dr. Gretz.
I guess it was on when I said that. It's that technology stuff.
Oh, no, it's always gonna be you.
There you go. All right, so Dr. Gretz, so again, that's a resolution recognizing Peter M. Gretz for being named the 2025 Virginia Superintendent of the Year, whereas the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors is proud to announce that Fluvanna County Public Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Peter M. Gretz, has been selected as the 2025 Virginia Superintendent of the Year. And whereas the annual award is given to a superintendent who consistently displays excellence in leadership throughout their role as public school division leader. And whereas Dr. Gretz was recognized during the Virginia Association of School Superintendents Awards luncheon in Roanoke on Monday, April 28, 2025. And whereas Mr. Gretz's tireless efforts to advocate for both students and teachers by ensuring that learning environments are safe, comfortable, efficient, and conducive to learning. And whereas Dr. Gretz, a 35-year Virginia educator, having previously taught in middle and high school, coached wrestling and academic teams and served localities across the Commonwealth, will soon be in his 5th year as superintendent for Fluvanna County Public Schools. And whereas the board recognizes the honor of receiving the Virginia Superintendent of the Year award, now therefore be resolved that the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize his exemplary leadership and extends enthusiastic congratulations to Dr. Peter M. Gretz for the distinction of being named the 2025 Virginia Superintendent of the Year.
Thank you.
Yes.
Glad we have you. Thank you.
I'm gonna do that really quick, and we're gonna get when we get the chair to sign it and make all the marks. Okay, sure. You have something. Here, you wanna, you're. Thank you. Thank you. This is a tremendous honor. Now you have a grand baptized ANC roots.
I'm sorry.
I just want to mention quickly, first time I saw Dr. Gretz was at it's a contentious special called school board meeting. And the way he handled something that it so impressed me, and I sent him an email saying I'd never even met him before, I had to search his email. And
And I just don't want anybody to feel like I'm being rude. I'm rolling out to a swing.
We're used to you treating us.
you
like
got
that.
your plaque
I
again.
get, I do want to just very quickly, just thank you so much for this. Thank you for taking the time out of your meeting to be purposeful about it. It really means the world to me. It really does. And I'm honored to be in Fluvanna and honored to work with each of you. Thank you for all that you do.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Gretz. Thank you.
Made me feel very bad.
Awesome.
All deserved. Thank you, sir.
All right, county administrator's report.
Yes. All right, so one, happy early birthday to Mr. Goad. Got a few weeks to go, but wanted to get it in there since we don't have any other birthdays coming.
Finally
Thirty.
30.
What's that?
30, finally turned 40.
My high school football number 34. Wow.
Happy early birthday,
Thank
sir.
you.
So one, the Virginia Tourism Corporation awards Fluvanna County with a $20,000 marketing leverage grant. Find Pleasant Grove by Land and Water will spotlight Pleasant Grove Park, home to more than 20 miles of multi-use trails and scenic frontage along the Fluvanna River. So this campaign aims to elevate Fluvanna as a destination for outdoor enthusiasts with a focus on mountain biking, kayaking, and rural recreation. The marketing plan will include social media outreach, digital advertising, and regional promotions with strong support from local partners, including Fluvanna Parks and Rec, RVA Racing, Chevy Chase Farm, Cunningham Creek Winery and Brewery, Local Eats, and Fruit Hill Orchard. And big thanks to Ms. Schmeck for kind of us leading the charge and submitting for that grant award. It's like I said,
Amen.
not a lot of them came through. A few. Governor Youngkin awards an APHID grant to upgrade the commercial kitchen. So Fluvanna County received a $7,374 agriculture and forestries industries development infrastructure grant to enhance its shared use commercial kitchen at the Fluvanna Community Center. Funds will be used to purchase essential commercial equipment such as 20-quart mixer, convection oven, work tables. These upgrades will expand the kitchen's capacity, improve safety and efficiency, and help food entrepreneurs scale their business. The project aligned with Fluvanna's economic development strategic plan and is supported by the Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center. And again, special thank you to Melinda Payne, Teresa McAllister, Rachel Brewster for their assistance in the grant writing process, and certainly Ms. Schmeck as well for leading the charge on that.
Amen.
So the Fluvanna Master Gardeners, they received a Sierra Club Earth Flag. So the Fluvanna Master Gardeners received an Earth Flag from the Piedmont Sierra Club on June 26, 2025 at the Pleasant Grove Master Gardener Native Plant Butterfly Garden in recognition of their efforts as unsung environmental heroes who make a difference in protecting the natural environment in their area. And the award of the Earth Flag honors numerous projects undertaken by master gardeners that promote and encourage environmental, sound horticultural practices through sustainable landscape management, education, and training within their local communities. And the picture to the right kind of shows all the
Sierra Club members and master gardeners that took place and that participated in that. So thank you to them for continuing to volunteer their time at Pleasant Grove Park to just provide another added feature there. And then some more, again, the Master Gardener projects include the Butterfly Garden, Earth and Ag Days with local schools, the Summer Library Program, and the Horticultural Help Desks, the Community Garden, and many other projects. And the newest project is a summertime discovery center that follows the life cycle of the butterfly through all phases within our butterfly house, along with growing hydroponic plants and maintaining other plants to support the various stages of butterfly development. And then Groovin' at the Grove, please join us for July 12th, 2025 at Pleasant Grove for the Groovin' at the Grove for the month of July. Food and beer garden open up at 4 p.m. Free live music runs from 5 to 7 p.m. And the band for the month will be Cake Fight, which is kind of a local band out of Fluvanna. So happy to have them and just kind of trying to grow the Groovin' at the Grove. And some upcoming meetings. So again, we only have one meeting this month, which is this evening. So we don't have any further meetings for the month of July. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, August 6th at 5 p.m. That'll be a regular meeting in here. Wednesday, August 20th at 6 p.m. regular meeting in the courthouse. And then Wednesday, September 3rd, at 5 p.m. regular meeting in the courthouse. And one thing I forgot to mention, we have Miss Jennifer Whistleman. Jennifer, if you'd stand up really quick. Jennifer is the interim HR director serving the county from the Berkeley group, and we're happy to have her aboard and wanted to just kind of put a name to a face. And she's been doing tremendous things and helping us out a great deal. And like I said, I just want to thank her for being aboard right now.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you. Moving on, first round of public comment. Please keep your comments directed to the board in that 5 minutes.
Don Rayner, 3531 Union Mills Road. And sometime back, there'd been some requests for a report to the board that they could distribute to the community about how many emergency unit calls were made in each of the districts and how many of those were serving Fluvanna County versus how many of those were serving other counties and which counties those were. So don't know whether that was ever comprised by the emergency gentleman who's in charge of that, but if so, that was never distributed out to the general public. So we can get that, be very helpful.
Thank you.
Want to. You can. So it's walking in.
Patty Rayner, 3531 Union Mills Road. And as you all know, I love to talk about taxes and the fairness across the board. But tonight, I want to talk about the policy to come into the courtroom. You know, when you come in, and I guess there's a court downstairs going, their rule is no food, no drink. And look, that's fine. I say follow the rules, but everybody has to follow the rules. So when I come in and I see food and drink already set up, but the only 2 patrons that ever attend are harassed as they come through the door. And I'm like I said, I'm very good about the rules. I just want the rules applied evenly across the board to all. So I would like to see either that rule changed at the door or no food or drink apply to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to appointments. Board commissions and committees, Mr. Dahl.
Yep. So for we have one appointment for the Region 10 Community Services Board for a Fluvanna County representative. We have 3 appointees, 1 David Harlow, 2 Larissa Smith, and then 3 Patty Renard, with terms to begin 7/12/2025 and the terms to end. Is it, Ms. Lees, is this an unexpired term? Yep, unexpired term, and then the term would end in December 31. Then we have to reappoint someone. But again, there's 3 individuals. I'm happy to open up any applications, and all the applications were on the board package as well.
Discussion.
Well, I know, I taught Mr. Harlow. Fine young man that's trying to get involved with a lot of stuff. I know Miss Raynard, and I believe I know Miss Smith. I'm having trouble putting her name in the face, but I know David very well. And, Chesley's what we called him all the time. And so, anyway, I've spoken my piece.
Got a motion?
I will make it. I moved the Board of Supervisors approve the following Board Commissioner Committee appointment. For Region 10 Community Service Board, Fluvanna County Representative David Harlow.
Second.
Got a motion, second by Mr. Goode, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Moving on to presentations, treasurer update, Ms. Rittenhouse. Yes.
Or evening, or is it evening? I don't know what time it is. I just wanted to give you all a report. I know I usually come up during public comments, but that doesn't give you an opportunity to ask
Thank you, ma'am.
questions. So, let me just let you, look at these sheets. That's just what I normally hand out. That just shows you the bank balances, and the comparison from the years. I did want to report to you, there's a second sheet that's in there. And I'll get to that in just a moment, but the payment plans with tax, I wanted to talk about tax. They have approximately 80 payment plans. There are about 62 parcels in various stages of litigation. It comes to about just under $1 million. The report that you're looking at, the second one is from tax. Usually that comes out on the 9th. The amount that they have there for June was just because they usually send it to me on the 9th. So that's just a partial. The actual amount for June was 288,000. So you can see there it's 2.1 million that they have collected thus far. And they also give you the breakdown there. There are parcels that are listed. I believe I've spoken with Mr. Sheridan regarding this. If you want to see any of the parcels, just go to Taxing Authority Consulting Services or taxva.com. And then you can click on the sales tab at the top. There'll be a list of counties, pick Fluvanna, and then you'll see the properties listed. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you can put your name and email address in there, and they will alert you as to when any tax sales begin. The only other thing I have is for the client portal, testing has been going on. I don't know if you guys know this, but you've been paying for it ever since you started using Munis, and I'm hoping to go ahead and get our money's worth out of it. So hopefully this will take place this second tax part to the year, and hopefully that'll be up and running. I don't know if this is the proper place to say this. I too am going to be leaving pretty much after this, so I won't be here for the public hearing regarding the dog tags. I just want to let you know that if we can get a yay on this, then we can go ahead and save some money by ordering the dog tags in July because they go up in August. Any questions? That was it.
Hearing,
I love your reports, and it's always good to look at it. And I'm really super happy over the work you've done over the past year and a half, 2 years. What's your collection rate up to now versus what it historically was?
I don't know historically because it's really hard to tell. When anyone would come in and pay their taxes, it would always go to the most delinquent. So when you look back, it always shows a higher amount than it was during the time it was collected. But I will tell you, I just looked at a report today, and it looks like about around 89% for the personal property collected for just 2025. And we're close to like 97% already. We're finding that people are coming in, and instead of doing it in the halves, they're just going ahead and paying the whole thing. I don't know if they're scared of me or afraid they're gonna go do tax.
I know I
have
am.
No clue. But they're paying, so.
I will say thank you for this report. It's great. The first thing I looked down here caught my eye. You can tell that it's June and we've got the additional revenue in the bank that you're drawing interest off of, but $127,000 in interest on the VIP fund in 1 month.
Hold your breath.
And hey, it can change in the
That's
blink
what
of an
I mean.
eye.
Hold your breath.
But I can remember looking at these reports and we were getting $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And to look down there and see, wow, we made $127,000 last month.
That's more than a
Thank you.
quarter of a cent.
Well,
Yeah,
we made a change there to try to keep that general fund as low as I feel comfortable in, and being as the schools have all $3.6 million, I didn't want to go below 4 to keep my sanity. It's one of those things that we keep going back, but I feel like the more that we move into those liquid funds, it helps with those.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate what
Thank
you're
you. Doing a
doing.
great job.
And I want you to know, when you just said that you were gonna be leaving also, I'm glad you're talking about just leaving out the door.
Yeah.
Well, I might sit for the next one.
Thank you. Going to action items, item C, authorization to advertise a public hearing to consider waiver request.
Good.
For sign Fork Union Drive-In, Mr. Fortune.
Good evening.
And Ms. Wood.
So what we're asking for tonight is authorization to advertise a public hearing. You can go ahead and next slide, Eric. So we have received an application for a sign permit for the planned Fork Union Drive-In. This is actually an SUP request that'll be subject to a public hearing later on tonight. The parcels in question is on B1 Business General. Based on what has been submitted by the applicant, the signs do not meet the sign requirements per 22-15-3, paragraph 3 of the county code. Specifically 3 things: sign size, the square footage, it exceeds that, sign height, the proposed sign exceeds that. And per the code, there can only be 1 business sign per parcel. The applicant is actually proposing 3 signs on the parcel, which we'll show you here in a minute. General location of the drive-in, which I think everybody is familiar with. And then the 2 parcels in question. The sign's going to be on 51-A-61, which is the big parcel. So here's what they are proposing. And I'll elaborate on this a little bit. There is an existing sign at the drive-in. They're going to have to move it. VDOT has required they move it as a condition for getting an entrance permit. So what they're going to do is take the existing sign, they're going to split it in 2. It's a triangle shape, kind of a triangle shaped sign right now. They're going to split it in 2, and what you see on your diagram is the 2 sides of the existing sign. They're going to put it up on the fence, and they're going to have a new sign in the middle, just identifying the drive-in. The 2 signs on either side would be facing opposite directions, basically a marquee sign showing what movie's playing. So what they're proposing here, they've got the maximum height is 11 feet 4 inches. Per our code requirements, a business sign freestanding can be no more than 10 feet. So basically, all 3 signs are basically not in compliance with the height requirement. The one you see in the middle is in compliance with the size requirement, 8x4, 32 square feet. The other 2 signs, however, are not. They exceed that. And again, you have 3 signs here where the code only allows 1 per parcel. So it's 3 different things that they're not in compliance with, which is why the waiver is being requested. You can go to the next slide, Eric. And here's a visual showing what it would look like. Again, the existing sign has to be relocated per VDOT, and they're going to basically split it in half, put 1 on each side of the identifying business sign. And it'll be on the fence. You can then go to the next one, Eric. And this is the aerial showing what it would look like. You can go ahead and go to the next one, Eric. So what we're requesting tonight, is authorization to advertise a public hearing. And the public hearing will be held on August 20th to consider a waiver to the sign requirements. And I'll take any questions.
And I should have mentioned up front, Mr. Goode, you wanted to. make-
Yeah, I have a disclosure to read on this. Is would now the right time, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. On item 8C, authorization to advertise a public hearing to consider waiver requests for sign Fork Union Drive-In, I would like to disclose the following. I am an officer, employee who has a personal interest in a transaction pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3115F as amended. I am disclosing I am employed by Superior Signs, which has a contract with Fork Union Drive-In to install the sign. Obviously, there's no official contract, but should this waiver go through and we be allowed to build it, it's likely that we would be under contract. So accordingly, the transaction has applications solely to property or business or governmental agency in which I have a personal interest in accordance with the Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112A as amended. I must disqualify myself from participating in this matter before the Board of Supervisors. I am asking the clerk to record the statement verbatim in the minutes of the board.
Thank you. Discussion?
Ready to make a motion. I move that the Board of Supervisors advertise a request for a waiver to the sign requirements under section 22-15-3 of the county code for the Fork Union Drive-In for a public hearing to be held on August 20th, 2025.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Hodge, seconded by Mr. Sheridan. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes 4-0-1.
I abstain.
4-0-1. 4-0-1, yeah. Thank you. All right, item D. 1.5% bonus for constitutional officers and compensation board funded employees. Mr. Dole.
Sure. Difficulties with.
You might have overwritten your file.
The codes at Monticello, it says constitutional officers, but it's.
What's the codes in Monticello say?
Yeah, it's. Codes of Monticello. Well, let me just go back to the item here. Well, let me see here. Let me just pull it up. Okay, so the long and short of it is, a 1.5 salary bonus was approved in the 2025 session of the General Assembly for constitutional officers, regional jail superintendents, and their compensation board funded deputies and employees. Constitutional officers want to utilize that 1.5% bonus funding for their positions, and compensation board funded employees. Again, this bonus would require any bonus that the board any bonus given, it requires authorization of the Board of Supervisors. And again, I met with the constitutional officers. It was actually last Wednesday. And this was kind of brought up as a last minute item. They thought it was kind of an automatic thing. And then I said, well, no, that's not the case, that the board has to approve that. And, you know, during the fiscal year 26 budget process, we talked about, you know, we brought up the fact that the state was going to be doing a 1.5% bonus. So we talked about, do we do that for all staff or what have you? It was the decision of the board to go ahead with the COLA and additional compensation versus doing the 1.5% bonus. Through discussions with constitutional officers, they feel that they would like to give this bonus to their comp board funded positions only. Again, that's what the funding's for. With that being said, if that was the case, there would be no county funding required because it's passed through and it's funded directly by the compensation board. I know we've got 3 out of the 5 constitutional officers here that if you want to ask them any questions in regards to that, I'm sure they'd be happy to. Any constitutional officers want to speak on behalf of the bonus?
Well, I'll ask you to come up and just tell us how many people will not be covered in your office. Hold up a hand, please.
Yeah, can you just show us a count on your
Is
hand?
it one in your office or are they all comp board?
We don't need each person to come up and tell us.
Commissioners off, they're all comparable.
Okay.
So it doesn't get effect of the one, sheriff.
Probably around 30 in my office, but keep in consideration and the reason that people that are on in my office, those are the same people that have been with laws. So as somebody, all of us leave, we pick the next senior person in our staff. So it's kind of, either give it back to the state or give it to those individuals.
Thank you.
And I think for the clerk, I think she has a one or two, yeah,
Who are not?
that are not comp board
Right.
funded.
And she has how many? Is it 8? Okay.
That sounds right. Stepping around.
4, 6,
Okay.
7.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
She has at least 8.
yeah.
Yeah,
She has 4 on the sidewall, 2 in the back, 2 in the front.
yeah, I think it's a.
I'm not a big fan of doing it, not for everybody, but the way the sheriff put it just now, it almost sounds like it helps fight the, what do we call it? Compression. It helps to fight compression because those ones with the senior experience are now getting a little separation.
Mr. Sheridan, Ms. Rittenhouse, y'all said all your employees are comp board funded.
I move the Board of Supervisors approve a 1.5% bonus for constitutional officers and their compensation board funded employees as authorized by the compensation board, and further authorize a supplemental appropriation bonuses in the amount of $42,100.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Note, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Moving on to item E, authorization to advertise public hearing to amend section 9-2-2 and 9-2-5 of the county code to increase FUSD water rates and charges. Mr. Dahl.
Yep. There we go. Okay.
Will you remind me, when were we saying we're gonna go to closed session?
6:30.
I thought so.
Yep.
But so just to clarify, on the agenda, it says reconvene at 6.
That should have said 7.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's supposed to be, yeah, should be 7, so yes.
Okay. Got a motion? Got a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor? Chair votes aye. Thank you.
So fuzzy rates and charge increases is what's being proposed. So one, the Department of Public Utilities, and I got Mr. Mitchell here. And thank you for what he's doing in absence of Mr. Popowitz. So one, the Department of Public Utilities oversees the operations, maintenance, and repairs for the following county utility systems. One, the one we're talking about here, Fork Union Sanitary District, FUSD, Science Crossroads Water and Sewer System, Palmyra Sewer, Carriesbrook Wastewater Treatment Plant, which serves Carriesbrook Elementary School and Social Services Performing Arts Center, and then the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant, which covers Central Elementary, West Central Elementary, and the middle school. So this is a map, and again, to the right of the screen is north, to the left of the screen is south. This is just the way the diagram came in an exhibit that I pulled from. But the red outline basically shows the outline of the Fork Union Sanitary District. You can even see within here, so the blue and green lines represent the water mains in there. You can see that even some of the water mains go outside of the sanitary district as it is right now. And again, the sanitary district really was meant to be, it has some special taxing authority and some things that the board could do. Again, the board could issue and implement a separate tax for the sanitary district, and there's other powers that are allowed as well with the sanitary district. This just kind of shows the sanitary district in more of a north-south alignment to the southeastern part of the county. And you can see in the kind of the tan hatched area is the sanitary district, and kind of the purplish pink area is the CPA. And you can see it pretty much goes from down at the, the James River, kind of all the way up to Carriesbrook Elementary School, and a little bit out on Route 6, and then a little bit kind of back towards Cloverdale. So looking at the FUSD rate history here, so this is looking at rates over the past 39 years, and these are the rate increases that have occurred. So again, going back to 1986 all the way to current. So again, 1986, though, that's what the rates were. Then the rates were not then increased until 2006, for almost 20 years later. Then about 4 years later, rates were changed in 2010. 4 years after that, rates were changed in 2014. Again, rates weren't changed until 2024. I had a proposal that I brought to the board back in 2020 or 2021, it was right before COVID had hit. It was actually, I think it was March of 2020, we were going to change the rates. But at the time, with kind of the unknown of what COVID was going to do, the board decided to not move forward with that. So we brought rates back a year ago, and the current rates in the box in the red, those are what the current rates are right now. So again, for within the Fork Union Sanitary District system, for $24 a month, you get a minimum charge, and that includes up to 2,000 gallons of water. Anything above that 2,000 gallons, per every 1,000 gallon is $11.22. The one thing I'll notice here, if you see in the chart below, it says 2001 gallons to 300,000 gallons, and then greater than 300,000 gallons. Back in the earlier years, going back to 2010, there was different rates based upon the usage. So if you went above 300,000 gallons for large water users, they had a lesser per 1,000 gallon rate. Back in 2014, that was changed. So basically everything above 2,000 gallons is the same rate now. And so again, that's the same in 2014, same as 2024, and the same as what we were proposing in 2025. To give the board a little bit of context, and some information was in the package. So when you're looking at just going back to the 1986 rates, going to what is being proposed in the 2025 rates, if you look at the minimum charge only, so over that period of time, over a 39-year period of time, rates have increased, if you take it on average, of 2.3% annually. If you take, annually over that 39 years. And if you look at the per 1,000 gallons charge as well, just looking at the $5.83, moving forward to what's being proposed for the $12.50 in that same 39-year period of time, rates have increased on average of 2.9%. So over that 39 years, they've had on average, pretty minimal rate increases overall. So right now we are proposing a rate increase of the minimum charge from 24 to 27. Right now there are 444 customers in the Fork Union Sanitary District system. So really the minimum charge is where you get most of the revenue you're going to see from it, just from a real quick high level standpoint here. If you say 444 customers times the $3 charge times 12 months, that brings you close to roughly about $16,000 a year. And in the board package too, I think the per 1,000 gallon charge gets you maybe about 3,000 gallons. So we're recommending an increase from $24 to $27, which represents a 12.5% increase to that rate. And then when you look at the per 1,000 gallon charge going from $11.22 to $12.50, that represents 11.4% increase. The one thing I will tell you for this year, and one thing that we're looking at currently, I'm going to tell you that right now, we would have a tough time increasing the rates to such a sustainable level that we're going to be level with where we are right now. I will tell you this year we're going to probably be close to, I'm going to say when it's all said and done, $125,000 short in revenues versus expenses in this fiscal year. The Fork Union Sanitary District has seen a tremendous amount of repairs in their system. And like I said, Mr. Mitchell, he can attest. There's also been some, which when we were going back looking, there's been some substantial decreases in revenue too. And that is specifically attributed to some large customer users that have kind of cut back on some of their water usage. One, kind of going back to the Dominion plant. Two, I think FUMA has implemented some cost saving efficiency measures in their system. And then three, there was another large user that had a leak that was going on for quite some time that finally fixed the leak, that they were finally able to figure out where that leak was. And so I can tell you right off the bat, just as I was looking at monthly revenue charges going back the past year, we're looking like we're probably at 5,000 less per month. I think it's about 4,000 and some change less per month on average that we're taking in now because of those reductions. So we're showing less revenue. Again, and Mr. Mitchell can attest to that. They've had some pretty substantial fixes in the system this year, but pipes, pumps, and you want to add anything to?
Just the system's getting no younger. It's been in the ground for 40+ years, and all of these mains, they're taking time on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, just to kind of show, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more. So one, just to kind of show, what the current rates are, what the proposed rates are, and based upon the 1,000, whatever 1,000 gallons per month you use, the chart to the right there kind of shows what the monthly increase is for each user. Again, with this, so because we only have one board meeting in July, so we wouldn't do a public hearing until the second meeting in August. If the board approves the rate increase at the second meeting in August, we didn't want to implement it for September 1 because it's only 2 weeks after that. So we are proposing to make it effective for October 1. So there's some time and notification to inform the customers if the board approves it. Again, for this fiscal year alone, this is going to only amount to 14. Yeah, just one thing, just in this fiscal year alone, this is going to only add to about 14,000 of additional revenue. And so this is definitely not the fix. It's not the long-term fix. And Mr. Mitchell, you had something you want to add?
Keep in mind that billing for utilities is done in arrears. So if that rate increase goes into effect October 1, that will not be implemented until the November bill.
Yeah.
So it will give them the customers plenty of time to.
Thank you.
Try to prepare.
So a couple things. Again, this is not a fix by any means of the imagination. I think as finance is finalizing the fiscal year 20 kind of audit and all that, and kind of getting into the mix of that, I believe we're going to have to come back to the board to what was done in the past to allow it was basically a loan payable between the county and the Fort Union Sanitary District that the county had to do previously. I think we're going to be in the same situation for this year too. So moving forward, a couple things. So in the current fiscal year 26, is the last year of the full debt service payment for the water system. That's a $60,000 payment. So that's the last $60,000 payment. Fiscal year 27, it'll be fully paid off. We have a $30,000 payment. So that goes away. There's been some substantial fixes this year. Certainly we're working on a major Fort Union water supply project, but that's not going to necessarily fix the old pipes in the ground that have been there for 40 some years, if not longer. And then just some of these old well systems, again, they're aging and they're becoming expensive. And like I said, Mr. Mitchell and the rest of the providers, operators can tell you it's fixes every day. So, we could go deeper with this, and we're trying to be mindful of, how deep do you go before you get into some outrageous increases that the customers come out and, that it's unsustainable for them to make payments on that. But at the same time, we have to implement some baby steps to kind of get there. Again, 14,000 isn't going to level the financials for FUSD on this, but it's, as we talked about before, we need to continue to do this on a yearly basis. And so this is kind of just the next year in the iteration of it. talking about regional rate comparisons, this chart just kind of compares, some of the most recent rates. So again, Louisa County, their base rate's 27.75 for that includes 3,000 gallons, and then after that, the per 1,000 gallon rate's 9.25. Buckingham County charges 31.19 for 4,000 gallons. The rate after that is 16.24 per 1,000. Goochland charges 42.76 for 4,000 gallons. The rate after that, 7.35. And I want to thank Mr. Mitchell and his folks in his office for going through and getting this data and calling out to different public utilities. Aqua Virginia, they have a base rate of 22.82, and from what Mr. Mitchell noted from calls is that doesn't include any base gallons in that, and then so you're paying $10.59 per 1,000 gallons. After that, our Zion's Crossroads system is 21.42, and again, that's for 2,000 gallons, and that's 11.22 after that. And then what we're proposing for the Fort Union Sanitary District at $27 for 2,000 gallons and 12.50 after that. And so,
Can you go back just one?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. Okay, thank you.
I mean, so really the big question is move forward with implementing the rate increase and, if so, the ordinance change and the authorizations to advertise were in the board package. Again, we would have a public hearing on the second meeting, August, I think it's August 20th, if the board decides to move forward with this action. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Mr. Mitchell's here again, and probably within the next couple August meetings too, as finance gets kind of the end of the year stuff, we're going to really have to look at that loan payable. And so something will be coming forward to the board regarding that as well.
How many people go above the, actually go above the 2,000? Go back to the, yeah, sorry, 2,000, yeah. Go back. Yeah, how many people go above the 2,000 gallon to 3,300? I guess how many people go above the minimum charge, or what percentage of customers?
I would assume maybe a third.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of the district are a lot of retirees on fixed incomes. There are a lot of those people in our district, and many of them use less than 1,000 gallons per month. So
would it be safe to say, Matt, that those who, if it is 33%, which is more than I was thinking it was, that those who are using more put more pressure on the system?
they do, yes.
Okay. And probably those who use more probably maybe, I don't want to, probably have more people living in the house, probably maybe safe to assume they're younger, they have families. Is that
Very well could,
an
yeah.
empirical observation you made? Okay.
Yeah, and just one thing too, I mean, Mr. Mitchell gave me, and kind of going in the staff report. So when you looked at just based upon an annual basis, so again, the going to the $27, that amounted to about $16,000 of an increase. Whereas the people that are going above the 2,000 gallons, that only equates to about $3,000 of revenue for this increase. And I think, Mr. Mitchell, I think you said there's about 2.2 million gallons per month of everyone that goes above that 2,000 gallons. And so again, it's pretty small in the grand scheme of things. I hate to say it, the biggest bang for your buck from a revenue standpoint is the minimum charge piece, because that's the majority that uses. I mean, certainly, you have some large water users, you would have to increase the per 1,000 charge rate pretty substantially to make any.
Substantially. I mean, it seems, I don't know, it just seems to me that what we mentioned with regard to, I mean, the people at that minimum charge, if you're using more, and you're putting more pressure on the system, that there would maybe be a way to restructure the rates so that those who are using more take on a little bit more of the burden than those who are using less. So maybe that 24 becomes 25, or excuse me, but 22 or 22.50. And I guess this leads into my second point is, it mentions here, it's also planned to continue to do annual rate increases as well until the system is cash flow positive. But it doesn't really sound like, based on what we've heard, that we're going to get cash flow positive, or what the loan might look like if the county has to do anything. So my question is yes, I mean, I understand the need to do something here. I just feel like maybe we could have different options to look at that maybe phase this out. I mean, we talked last meeting about maybe once the JRWA is done and we're looking at the Fork Union project, we maybe have to reconsider some things with the FUSD in the next 5 years. And maybe we put together a more comprehensive 5-year plan that allows us to, look at people that use more water. How can we offset that minimum cost for those that are struggling by looking at maybe offsetting that? Again, I know just not enough people are at those second 2 tiers to account for the funds that we need. But if this is something that's going to come up in August, and I realize that I'm the only one on here that represents people in this district, but I would say, I am understanding of the need to do something here, but just kind of arbitrary, and I don't use this term negatively, but just kind of coming at it every year of, well, it was $3 last year, $3 this year. I'd almost rather present the folks in that area with a 5-year plan that we can vote on and say, this is what we're going to do at least over the next 5 years to become solvent. And instead of just up in the minimum charge, I mean, it's only 22 cents extra for people who are using the most water. I personally, if I were, one of one here making a decision, which I realize I'm not, I would like to see something maybe a little bit more comprehensive that sort of looks at this more holistically, rather than jumping into another rate increase a year later. And then next August, we turn around, we still haven't looked at anything and we're just kind of jumping into a rate increase again. 100% understand the need, appreciate everything you guys do. You guys are my folks down there, that. But I would like to maybe see something that would maybe present some options, but also look at it more comprehensively. Does that make sense?
It does. Some of the difficulty in that though is trying to predict
I understand that.
where our expenses are coming from. Ever since COVID, chemical prices just shot up astronomically. And the other thing that you're not necessarily keeping in mind is our 3 largest customers are businesses. Fluvanna, the retirement facility, the screen printing shop. We do want to encourage business to keep coming to our district.
I think you have a roadmap for this because Aqua did the same thing in Lake Monticello. And when you want to redistribute it, if you notice, their base rate's low. But when you calculate it out in a spreadsheet, which I did, the more you use. So if you're a retired person, you keep it under $1,000 and you keep it close to that base rate. But the businesses and everyone else use more. So it's an escalating rate the more you use. And I say, use that as an example. If you want to tax the higher, you want to shift some of it on the higher and off of some of the lower people or people that can less afford it, then you put the control of their billing in their own hands. If you have a leak, you fix it. You don't take 40-minute showers, you take 10-minute. So I think the easiest way to achieve Mike's objective would be to look at keeping a lower base rate and then have 0 gallons in it, and you charge the per rate 1,000 on top of it, similar to what Aqua does. Because when they inherited the Lake Monticello system, they inherited a system that had issues, pipes need to replace, exactly what's happening here. So I think if we don't tread a path similar to them, we could end up in a situation where we turn it over. And I can tell you, the people down there, if they're struggling with a $3 increase, they'll struggle when they get Aqua bill.
So Matt, regarding your comment about, thank you, Tim, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. With what you're saying, your business comment, I just want to clarify. Are you saying that this would essentially be punishing those businesses and your concern would be, yeah?
And perhaps prevent future other businesses from coming down to our region and using our supply because they're afraid of what the astronomical cost would be.
Is it safe to say that there's maybe only 2 or 1 businesses that use more than 300,000 gallons? Since we
I would assume that the only one that uses that after the leaks are repaired at the one facility is the military academy, and that's when students are in.
Right.
Well, summer school's in session.
On shower restrictions.
It's a $300 a month increase. You can only put so much into that. I mean, keep in mind the lake, Aqua raised the rates, the base rate. Or the base charge to pretty much every customer on their last increase by $30 a month.
Yeah.
Not $3 a month.
Well, why does that say the base rate is 22?
Well,
As it says with the star, there's
somebody
lots of
from
other
Aqua
stuff,
gave me over
nonsense
the
that they
phone.
do there.
Somebody gave you that over the phone, so that's their base rate for everywhere, not Lake
I
Monticello.
can tell
And
you.
it doesn't include sewage.
Sewer, yeah.
Well-
I asked for only water because I wanted to compare apples to apples. Nobody in the sanitary district has public sewer facilities.
It's 70 and 50 the base rate. So you're gonna pay about 120 in the lake. And that's if you go on vacation and turn the water off.
So they gave you their overall base rate would be my guess, including for Columbia, which is much lower. All right, I got a couple questions. This does cover all of the water users, because there's some people that are outside of the FUSD district, so that will include them.
Yeah,
Okay.
anyone that's a customer
All right.
would include.
And then the last point I will say about it is you're the only one that represents people that are part of the system. We all represent people that are gonna be paying for it if we don't do something with the rates.
I'm not saying don't do anything with rates.
I'm not trying.
I'm not saying that at all.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
I mean, all we're talking about tonight is doing a public hearing about the rate,
And
correct?
I would say every family that sends their kid to school at Carysbrook Elementary is involved with the system at some point. So,
At some point,
yeah.
but the last time we did the rates, when we did the rate raises in 2014, it was very contentious. Because we had one customer come in and say, raise our rate if you want, but we will go off the system.
Well, you can see going back, I'm kind of going back to the question, it was kind of the inverse before. You can see large water users pre-2014 got a discount, paid lesser per gallon charge, if you look at this chart
Okay.
here. Whereas that was changed in 2014, where anyone going above 1,000 gallons pays the same fee.
I had a question for Mr. Witten. Is it, when you put a public utility in, do people have to subscribe to the public utility? And if you're on it, you can't move off and drill your own well?
Depends what the county code says.
Yeah,
You
there-
get dictated under the county code that if it's available within 70 feet, you have to hook up. So.
And what does our county code say?
There are requirements, I think.
If it's
you were
within a certain amount of feet,
I
if
think
your
you-
well goes dry, like up in Science Crossroads, I think that's part of it. If we're within 200 feet, I don't know what the thing
I
is.
don't remember what the.
Footage. But if as long as you're on a well, you can stay on your well.
Yeah.
But once you're hooked to the system, you can't come off, right?
Correct.
Because I think I inquired with the health department, could I drill my own well for irrigation? And they was like, no, you're stuck with Aqua.
I mean, I think the idea is normal.
So it's 400 feet within FUSD.
That's what I thought, yeah.
If you're within 400 feet.
Yeah.
And I think the idea is no, we'll try to keep the price down, but the reality is $14,000 raised by this rate increase is probably not gonna meet the demands that we need. And we only got 3 or 4 customers that are using over 300,000 gallons. Say another, how many, what's the total number of customers on the system? 444. 400, another 100 that are using above that. And you're probably not really gonna be able to get that much more out of it by changing the rate increases from that standpoint. But to me, it seems like if we're spending 125,000 and we're raising 14,000, the projection is that we're going to continue to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more than what we're bringing in per year. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. So
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, I mean, the expenses this year for repairs really, I mean, it was.
any grants available from?
Not necessarily for just like these quick repairs, but I mean, I think there may be some grants available for some of the pipe replacements and stuff like that, some of the old pipe replacements, but that's.
Trying to blank, who was the water guy over at Lisa who's now like running the rural water development system?
Was that Pam Bowman?
No, that's she's the director for the LCWI.
Strong accent, a nice guy. I can't remember, but I'll send it to you as soon as I can remember it. He was in charge of sort of grants that were.
Oh, you're talking about
Brad Humphries.
Brad Humphries.
Brad Humphries.
Yes.
Yes, he's still in that position, but.
He is, I think he is still with VDH.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that it was, I don't know if we talked about that.
Yeah, again, we had talked and with Mr. Popowitz, we had talked about looking at some grants for the pipes and replacements of those things. Again, some of these like, pumps go out, the well casings are needing to be repaired and things like that. Those are things that you just got to do on the fly and you can't wait for grants to necessarily
Well,
get.
and once the other system's online, which I practice a decade away, probably.
I hope not a decade.
I heard 2030 2 weeks ago, so.
2030. Okay, having you been through it once, 12 years ago.
Hold on. We're now seeing at least dirt moving, so.
That's right, exactly. But then that would obviously take some of the pressure off because we wouldn't be using the wells, but we'd have to address the pipes for sure.
Is there anybody that specifically would not like us to have this, to advertise the public hearing?
It needs to be done.
It needs to be done, you said?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we gotta advertise, we gotta have a public hearing, and this is just about a rate increase.
So if the public hearings advertised, it's for the specific rate increase that we're seeing here tonight. There could be no flexibility to have any sort of secondary.
You could go down, but you can't go up because going up would be.
So you couldn't come up on
pressure.
one or down on the, there's just no, so if you.
If you want to give yourself more flex, we would have to go up on both rates and then you could come down.
Yeah, I just, my only concern is if it's, and again, I get it. I'm not saying that, I voted for the rate increase last year, without pretty much of a fight at all. But I think that if we've got folks telling us that these rate increases are going to happen every single year and yet what we're raising them to doesn't even seem to begin to scratch. It just seems to me that, I guess, the phrase I would use is rip the Band-Aid off, a more comprehensive plan to say, hey, look, this is a 5-year plan for what we're going to be doing so that people know. Talk about preparing for a month for a new bill. At least people could prepare over the years, and maybe that does get them to monitor their water usage a little bit more. Maybe it does incorporate something. I don't know, like Mr. Hodge was looking at. And again, if you guys tell me that something like that is just not something that can be done there, that's fine. I understand. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in how these things work, but what I do understand and I know is that people, if we do it this year and then we turn around and do it again the next year, and it may not be arbitrary to us, but it may seem arbitrary to them. And my only concern with Mr. Fairchild, to your question, with advertising the public hearing would be that it does lock us in really and give us not much flexibility. Because if you come down on the top, if we were to ever come down on the 24, it'd be because we came up on the 1122 and we would be locked into the 1122. The only thing we wouldn't be locked into is the 24. So I see the way the winds are blowing. I've said my piece. So
The only thing I'd add to that, and I'm sure you already get this, but it's a technicality. We could create a 5-year plan and there'll be 2 more elections between now and then, and anybody could switch it, and the next board could change that.
I understand that. And I guess I would counteract that with, we talk about plans and things that have been in place by previous boards and sometimes we do, I know Mr. Dawes presented things before. We're getting ready to have an action item that had come up that was a decision made by previous boards that I do have some questions about. But yes, I guess effectively anybody could overturn anything that this decisions this board made. But I guess given the January 20th deadline, this one's going to be around for at least 2 more years. So, I get what you're saying. If that's the case, why do anything? If you know what I'm saying.
And the interesting thing from 2014 when that rate increase went into play, so it got, because there was probably when I first started here in 2011, 12, 13, they were not, they were not making money. We had to do multiple years of loan payables to them. And then when the rate increase went in, they kind of got into a good path. And honestly, for a good while, they were sitting in a decent position But the last 2 years with repairs have been a big kick.
We went the long 10
20
years
years.
instead of going 5 years like we were gonna do because of COVID.
That's how you get into a situation where you're having to do it every year, because someone didn't sit there and say, let's have a 5-year comprehensive plan. They went almost before I was born to when I graduated high school without having a rate increase. That's how we get into a situation where we're having to do it year by year. But that's not Matt's fault. That's not Mr. Popowitz's fault. That's really not anybody sitting in here's fault.
Right. And the one thing I will say is, hopefully down the road, we can start drawing, with that water, we can start drawing businesses. If we, I know we're preaching at the choir on that one, but we can get businesses to come in here and all of a sudden now we get them to help with pipe replacing and things of that nature.
Well, that's a thing that could happen within 5 years,
Correct.
you know, and then if you've got more businesses on there and all of a sudden you've raised the rates up and, you know, now you've got more businesses. I just, you know, it seems to me, I think I've said my piece of that. I think the writing's probably on the wall here. I would certainly like to see something a little more comprehensive.
So
there.
I have a legal question for Dan. So you said, I understand the principle, you can come down, but you can't go up. What do you do in the situation where there's two proposals? So one, you've got this rate increase there, but you may have a second proposal to have a lower base rate and something else, similar to when we had multiple election districts, you had multiple choices to choose from. Then you're not tied by that, are you? You're tied
if you advertise all the options.
So we could advertise 27 and 15 and 15.
Yeah.
And then we can go down if you want to take that approach, or 15 and 20, take that approach. We can advertise that and then they can come back and provide some recommendations. I mean, again, at the end of the day, I think,
See the
you
reaction.
know, whether
of the
we do
public.
it now or don't do it now, it's, you know, yeah, we'll see the reaction of the public, but probably we're facing at least 2 or 3 more rate increases to try to.
Well, and I appreciate what you're saying there, Tim, for the recommendation, Tony, for, you know, seeing, you know, what we're trying to do there. That only scratches the surface. I mean, that was the first thing I brought up, was maybe shifting, you know, making it so that there was some weight shifted off of those on that minimum charge to those who are using more as part of this increase. But that doesn't necessarily solve the more comprehensive thing. And then my concern would be that you go forward with this rate increase, whether it's what we see here, we don't, and then a year goes by and we still haven't discussed it or looked at anything.
So will you help get clarity on what it is you'd like to do now?
I'd almost, I'd almost like to see, and I don't know if that could be worked into the ordinance at least. And to your point about boards being able to change things, and to your point about unforeseen circumstances, which are just unavoidable aspect of life, you can always change the ordinance. My thought would be that you could have almost a tiered thing within the ordinance that shows what they're going up to each year as part of a planned thing to show, hey, this is what we're doing. You know, I just think biting this off a year at a time is just, it's a responsible thing to do here to make this district more solvent. I don't know that people that are paying the bill would see it as having foresight by just saying it's going to have to happen every year. Let's just arbitrarily.
Feels reactive.
It feels reactive almost, rather than, having foresight and looking ahead. And yes, you can always plan, you can always adjust your plans as you go, and you're going to have to adjust plans as you go. But I think going back again to some conversations we had last 2 weeks ago about what things look like in the next 5, maybe 10 years for FUSD as the water, new water systems come online, that it would almost make sense to sort of, again, do something more comprehensive rather than just annually come in and looking at it and say, this is what it needs to be. Because then people are just like, well, you just raised my rates last year. Why did you? Maybe if there's a more comprehensive thing, people can understand, like, hey, dude, we went 20 years without raising rates. That was a problem. And this is unfortunately what we have to do now because that happened.
And I get that. I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to
fix that. The suggestion that you're making is we advertise the hearing, and then you've got 6 weeks to look at some of the numbers you have, and come up with a 5-year plan to go with the hearing to say, look, we're gonna do this now, but here's what we're forecasting for the next 4 years.
The wheels already turned. Mr.
See, I think
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what happened in 2014. Mr.
Yeah.
Stevens came in here.
Yep.
And he brought us numbers and said, this is what we need to do. This is a substantial increase, but it has to be done in order to cover paying the bills.
I remember
And
that.
we weren't able to do that when we were getting ready to do it in 2020. So now we're dealing.
I mean, so even let's say 5 years is too long. We couldn't even look at a 2 to 3 year tiered thing.
Well, I was just about to say, we can advertise again for 29, 15, and 20, and that will give you the room.
That doesn't solve 2026 next year.
It does,
doing-
because he will be able to look at the numbers and say, this is generating this much money, more than I anticipated. And so I can hold the rate steady for 2 years instead of doing it every year.
And part of it's gonna depend on what breaks.
It doesn't really matter if we advertise this, come in and whatever the variation is, we're still only raising 15,000 and we gotta come back in and do it next year. Well, we gotta come back in and do it next year, but if we raised it higher, then maybe we have a little bit more cushion, because at the end of the day, if the curve is such that the expenses annually are greater than the revenues brought in, you gotta normalize that curve.
And these are some of the conversations that Mr. Dahl and I have had, where we were contemplating putting forward a rate increase for this year and one for FY 27. And then mid FY 27, taking a good hard look at numbers and making a more comprehensive plan, at least through 2030, when the new plant is online, which will have much higher operating costs in both chemical and electrical usage. So,
I mean, if you're just looking at just straight from let's just say let's use a round number, say we're 100,000 to the bad this year. I mean, that 14,000, I mean, we're gonna need to almost that in some capacity, rates are gonna need to go up 5 times as much what we're doing to just break even this year and to start to be break even next year. And again, this year when these water reductions and the revenue came in, and then we had just exorbitant expenses, was an anomaly that just wasn't, like I said, we did not foresee.
So trying to think big picture here. At some point, we talked about the Dominion proffer, keep it fuzzy for the time being, but sometime you'll have a county-wide utilities. What's the age of the pipe in the ground? Average 40 years in Fort Union or thereabouts?
1980s, so 45.
40s.
Yeah.
What about the Palmyra system? Is that about 20?
That's about 20. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it was
about
built in
Columbia.
like mid 2000s. What's that?
How about Columbia?
I don't
That's
know.
not our issue.
That's an
That's
our system. I'm not sure
Yeah,
about
and
Columbia.
so Zion Crossroads will be within 10. So when you merge it, you've got varying phases and you may be able to distribute or take some of the weight off the oldest system by your customers on the other one. Rather than doing this loan system to FUSD to bail them out for the short term. And we may be able to look at the system, the whole county system as one thing and work the rates across the board.
Yeah, the reason if FUSD is not solvent or is not at a break even, because they're a sanitary district, you just have to, the county has to do the loan payable because it's supposed to be a self-sustaining system, and that's just.
So it's coming out of the rest of the taxpayers' dollars
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So let's make a motion and select the rates and let them come up with the plan.
And if none of you, if there's no way that those numbers will adjust for you all in a month and a half, just make the motion to set it what you want them to be.
Saying we can make it in such a way that it gives the room.
It's the
for
flexibility.
But if no one's gonna come down or move on those, then don't, I mean,
No, you had suggested the possibility that you could raise the rates on the higher
Gallonage.
tier people in the gallon per gallons to see if that could impact lowering the rate or the base, lowering the base rate. So they've got to, run a what if analysis on a spreadsheet, then come back and do that.
And it'd be nice to see, Matt, also, if we were to stay at something like a $15 or like a $13 or $13.50 or whatever, what that would increase based on if they'd have used that water, if they use the same amount of water this year as they did the next year, what that increase would look like.
Are you saying on the minute, are you talking about on the minimum?
No, for like the businesses, like if a business
Oh,
used
okay.
over that amount, like if their bill was X in 2025, what it would be at this new rate in 2026. Does that make sense what I'm at?
Yes.
Okay.
So for the motion, it doesn't have the rates in there, but am I hearing that the proposed rates of 27, 1250, 1250, that the board might want to advertise something higher?
The motion doesn't have rates. We're just making the motion have a public hearing.
Well, no, because
The ordinance.
the
has
ordinance
rates.
has the rates in it, and
So if you
so.
want to go higher, potentially higher, your motion would need to include that.
Yeah, what-
potentially higher
Matt, what would
rates.
you, what would be your suggestion on if we were to go higher on that 1250, what would be pushing the limit? Are you already pushing it at 1250?
Well, I mean, if you just, I mean, well,
Like I said earlier, I think that's a tax on our businesses that are our high water users.
Well, we're already
Yeah.
going up
And
again.
then it's a tax on the
Yeah.
people on fixed income.
Yeah.
It's painful, no matter which way you look at it.
One thing some
But-
localities do is businesses are treated differently. The base charge is higher based on the meter size. So they treat residential versus non-residential customers differently based on the meter size. So then you have a higher base charge if you have a bigger meter size. So you could look at something moving forward, going to that, then you're treating businesses differently based on their meter size.
So that's actually something that's in our ordinances for. the
Zion,
Crossroads.
So you could do something like that, have a positive.
But the way I took it, Mike, is not that if nobody's willing to come down, I was taking it as more of an unsaid, we're creating room for us to come down. Does that make sense? In other words, for us to let them go back to drawing board and we're creating a buffer only for I don't want to speak for anybody. It seems to me I'm hearing only for the opportunity to create something we can come down from, but the space to do it.
Okay.
Am I taking that right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying?
I was thinking 27, 15, 15.
so you said 27.
Yeah, I mean, if
15,
if the objective
27,
is, I don't want to have to
15,
do this
And
every
15
year.
for over
And
300.
whatever the formula is, then that is what it is, right? But we're not gonna do it every year, then the rates are gonna go up this year and it's more pain this year.
But we're going to every year. That's my
But you're
point.
going to.
That's my point.
Well, no,
And he's saying create a 5-year schedule of it going up.
That's what I'm talking about.
right, but I'm saying if, in order to create the 5-year schedule, right, you give yourself some room by setting the first 2 years, but I mean, if you want to set the first 5 years, that's fine too. I mean, make it $40 and $20 each and you go from there. I mean, I'm just saying, there's gotta be some room, right? So.
No, I would not set it at 40 because I know it gets set at 40.
Mr. Witten, I don't think we can set a yearly scale in the ordinance, can we? You just set the current rate and then each year you have to adjust it?
Yeah.
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 So we're gonna have to have a hearing every year. Unless we embed something in the ordinance that says,
Because otherwise you're binding a future.
yeah,
Right.
or you put a CPI clause or something in
And you
there.
don't know. What if all 3 wells fail in the same year?
Yeah. Then we're writing a big loan.
Yeah, right, exactly. So.
I'm just trying to help us in 10 minutes. We're supposed to go to closed session. We still got another item. that
Well,
we
either
have
there's a
discussion.
motion to defer this or there's a motion. Let's get on with it, right?
How do y'all feel about deferring?
I don't see the value in it, but. yeah,
I mean, what does that do to y'all?
We can't, we're not going to be able to do the rate increase
And
if
you
we
can't
defer and
advertise
come back in
multi-year.
August, we're not gonna be able to do the rate increase until September, second meeting in September, which would push implementing rates
November?
November 1.
Yeah.
So they did the bill right before Christmas.
And you can't set multi-year rates.
I mean, at Mr. Good's district, if he wants to make a motion to defer, I think he should do that.
Mr. Mitchell, what are your thoughts?
I think the sooner the better, like you said, rip the Band-Aid off. It's something that has to be done.
Well, I meant rip the Band-Aid off rather than 5 different times over 5 years, but.
I understand
I
that.
see what you're saying. So what are we suggesting that we set them at?
I mean, you can pick any number you want. You can pick 30 and 15, do Rich.
And we can come down.
And we can come down, but we can't go up.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Tim.
my thought
I'll do
for just what I had in my head for next year was going up another 11% from the 27 and the 1250, which would have put
About 29.50.
the minimum charge right around $30, and then I want to say the per thousand after, what, 1365, something like that.
That gives us plenty of room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we might have a motion.
All right. After confirmed with Mr. Goode, I'm ready to make a motion.
Yep.
I move that Board of Supervisors advertise a public hearing to amend section 9-2-2 and 9-2-5 of the county code to increase Fork Union sanitary district water rates and charges to be a base rate charge of 27 and 15 per 100,000 over the minimum and 15.
You can just say, because
30 was-
it's
30. Or you're gonna keep it at 27.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it at 27 because I don't want it to be set at 30.
You don't have to say the other one because the over 300,000 in the
Alright.
ordinance that actually went away. I just had it on the chart just
Yeah.
for sure.
2715.
27 and 15.
Yes, sir.
Need a
We
second?
need a second.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Goode, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
we're gonna
much.
move on to item F, codes at Monticello Performance Incentive Grant. Mr. Dahl.
Trying to zip through this again, March 2022, at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved a development and performance agreement for the Coves at Monticello Affordable Workforce Housing Complex by agreeing to provide semi-annual grants through the EDA based upon a percentage of taxes paid by the developer due to the increased real estate assessment, which is billed after the certificate of occupancy is for the project is issued. The certificate of occupancy for the project was issued in 2024. All buildings met the certificate of occupancy. So this June was the first period where the property was being assessed. So per the agreement, so if you look at the second bullet, so per the agreement, the stipulated, or what I like to call the base value, the stipulated 2021 assessed value of the property per the agreement is 71,439.14. So at the time, what they did is they took how many acres were there, what the value of that acreage was at the time, and then prorated it based upon the codes at Monticello's acreage, which was 6.315 acres, and it came up to an assessed value for that proration at 71,439. So then what the agreement also says is as you move forward, whatever the assessed value of the complex is at that time, you minus that 71,000 because that was kind of the base values. So the difference of those two is what you are providing for an annual performance incentive grant on a yearly basis. Now, I will tell you, literally just as this was getting ready to go into the package, the codes at Monticello actually went through a Board of Equalization hearing appeal. So just as I was finishing this to go into the package, their assessed values dropped pretty significantly because there was an issue with the amount of units that was being assessed through the assessment process. They had it that there was 244 units and there's actually 124 units.
124.
And so the assessed value dropped from 24.6 million down to 16.9 million. Again, from the county standpoint, since the county is basically providing, let's just call it 100% a tax incentive, less that 71,439 for the initial year, there's really no impact to the county. So anyway, based upon the 71,439 minus the current assessed value that the BOE just assessed at 16,926,992, that difference is 16,855,552.86 times it, divided by 100 times the tax rate. That brings you to an annual 2025 performance incentive grant of 126,416.65, then divided by the first and second half is 62,208.33 for this half is what they are owed from a performance incentive grant. They have met all the parameters of the agreement. They provided a certification of affordable housing for the project today, as well as they've met all the other agreements like when they built and when they had to have everything completed. And Mr. Witten, Ms. Schmeck, and myself went through the development agreement just to make sure that all the parameters and timelines were met, and they were.
So my questions are this. In essence, we're giving them their tax payment back.
Yes.
So, and it was based on the timelines. What happened to the businesses that were supposed to go in along the frontage? Were they not part of the agreement?
That was not part of it.
That was not part of this agreement.
Wow.
Whole separate developer.
Yeah.
There's housing, the apartments are one developer, houses. Business sections are.
In other words, that land was sold that the apartments are on.
And so this is a contract that we're bound to, so why are we voting on this?
Really I think really on this from a standpoint of, because not knowing when everything was going to be completed from just a budget appropriation standpoint, but just to kind of provide some clarity for the board. And so what we'll have to do, we'll also have to do this for next year, and then in the budget for the next upcoming budget, now that we kind of know that the project's done and complete, we will start budgeting for what we estimate this amount to be on a yearly basis.
So is this,
Mr. Whitten, this is,
sorry, go ahead.
this is a done deal, right? I mean, the only thing we could do is vote to get ourselves sued.
Basically, we sign a contract, so for the next 10 years, 100%, then it scales down from 80, 60, 40, 20.
Yes.
So if you decide not to fund it, it would just go to court. That's
Right.
breach of
And
contract.
we'd lose, yeah.
Yeah.
So just trying to
It will incur charges.
get to this. There is really nothing to vote on. And so with us having 3 minutes before we're trying to get in closed session,
All right.
any discussion anybody wants to say, I'd say do it, but I don't know how we would vote against this. Only thing I'll say, because I had some calls about this today for citizens listening, and this is not a deterrent or anything negative against those who voted for it, but I absolutely voted against it and would again today, but I don't have any choice about what we do with it.
Yeah, is this the actual abatement itself or just basically a return for the increase in assessed of value?
No, this is, I mean, based
They
upon
paid
the,
their tax, and we're returning their tax.
yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion?
And then just one point of clarity.
I voted to not, it came in front of the board when I was here to allow them these tax breaks. Yeah, you all had them sharpen
Yeah, I
a
think
pencil
so.
the year before. They
Yeah.
didn't have any, so I did.
Yeah, I would
I
just.
did vote against it. I did vote on it.
Would just say that, yeah, I realize that basically this was the comment I made about being
So,
bound by
yeah.
previous decisions. I certainly, again,
For 2026, because we'll have to do these for each half of 2026. I'm just going to put them on the consent agenda, but I just wanted this to,
Right.
at least on this first one, because this is the first payment, and just so the board understands
Yeah.
and to provide.
And maybe
clarity.
for the citizens. I can't remember. I move the Board of Supervisors approve the performance incentive grant amount of $63,208.33 for FY 25, with such payment to be made to the Economic Development Authority of Fluvanna County, Virginia, and for subsequent remittance to the developer Monticello Coves Realty Partners, LP, and further authorize a supplemental appropriation of $63,208.33 from unassigned fund balance for payment of the grant funds.
Discussion point.
Sure.
Which is just for the public's information, the developer granted the land, so the roundabout could be built there on 53. That would not have happened had that development not happened. So, and having had a neighbor who was killed right at that intersection, I'm grateful to have that roundabout there as well. I'm grateful to have the diversity in housing stock as well too. So I am happy to second the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Sheridan, seconded by Mr. O'Brien. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Thank you.
There, I move the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors enter into a closed meeting pursuant to the provisions of section 3711A1, section 2.2-3711A3, section 2.2-3711A5, section 2.2-3711A6, section 2.2-3711A8 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended for the purpose of discussing personnel, county attorney performance evaluation, prospective candidate for the sheriff's office, disposition of real estate in the Palmyra district, but a real estate, prospective industry, prospective business in the Columbia Cunningham district, investment funds, contract user grant under the water sewer ordinance, Science Crossroads, and contract user grant under water and sewer ordinance and science crossroads for legal matters.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brian, seconded by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor?
Aye.
There goes, 5-0.
Ready. But really, you should
be
be taxed when you vote.
I second 2025, will stand as pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move on to public hearings, item G, SUP 2503, 14 Drive Lane. Motion.
Oh, we didn't have the motion come out of place.
Oh. Mr. Nolan?
Oh, yeah, sorry, see. We come in with some out, or we?
Out.
Well, so we're gonna have to go back in, so what do you want to do?
We'll come out now and then
Come
we'll
out
come
now.
back, we'll go back in for just the one
The
item
one item,
after
okay.
public hearings.
Mr. Chair, I move close meeting be adjourned, County Board of Supervisors. Session, be resolved, the Board of Supervisors does hereby certify to the best of each member's knowledge. One, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the requirements under section 2.2-37 Code of 1950 as amended. And two, all such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the proposed meeting will be discussed or considered.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor? Yeah, roll call, Mr. Hodge,
Aye.
Mr. Goode.
Aye.
Mr. Sheridan.
Aye.
O'Brien.
You're O'Brien.
Aye.
We're not married yet.
Not yet.
All right.
Back in.
All right.
We're legal.
Good evening, board. This is special use permit application request in B1 Business District for a outdoor entertainment venue on 2 acres of property with the, as you all familiar with, the former Fort Union Drive. Next slide, please, Eric. General location, one now, please. Aerial image of the site. Next slide, please, Eric. Okay, so the applicant's requesting a special use permit for outdoor entertainment in order to reopen the Fort Union Drive Theater. And the proposed hours that they plan to operate in the shoulder months and not during the season would be April, May, September, October, Friday and Saturday, 6:30 to 1 a.m. Sorry. And then the core months, June, July, and August, they'll do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 6:30 to 2 a.m. Sunday, 6:30 to 1 p.m. That's what the proposal. So the key points, the access to the site is going to be provided by 2 entrances that have to be widened. They've already got VDOT permits to do that. The property is currently being served by a well. They're switching over to the 14 sanitary district. Those are pretty much 2 of the key issues involved. They're putting new bathrooms on the site, new ADA compliant bathrooms. And they've had quite a bit of community engagement. Got a Facebook website. We've got a petition with over 1,300 signatures all supporting the project. There's the original survey, if anyone would like to see that. They've had a little more recent survey, which we'll be seeing in the near future. Technical review committee had a few comments. That's pretty much have all been addressed. One was the concern of water and the entrance were the two biggest issues. So in accordance with the comp plan, the use is in accordance with the comp plans. It won't change the character of the established community. According to the comp plan, some commercial services may be considered designed and arranged to complement the rural character of the area. We believe that would be a significant economic and cultural benefit to the community that would help to revitalize the Fort Union area. Any potential adverse impacts would be from increased traffic and cultural noise during the operation. That's all I have.
I'll be able to hear the noise from my front porch. Bring it on.
I will just tell you right now, riding around with kids, most of them don't know it even exists. And when I tell them it's in the process of opening up, just to watch them get excited about having someplace to go in Fluvanna County.
Absolutely.
My daughter used to dance in front of the movies way back in the day. That's right. Can't wait for it to open up.
I did too.
I just made the comment that, yeah,
It was everyone.
there's not too many teenage memories that don't have the drive-in tied into it.
I think we should hear what the public has to say.
Right, so no question, concern the street.
No.
All right,
I have,
sorry,
Jill, we'll have the applicant come up with comments.
I'm sorry.
Can we have the applicant come up with comments?
Yes.
All right.
Will the applicant please?
Hi, good evening. My name is Ron Understall. I represent the owners of the Fork Union Drive-In. That's the FF White Family Trust. I'm married to one of them, Allison. Allison, Kay Jeffries, and Stephanie Armstead are the three owners of the drive-in, and with their support and with a lot of community help and fantastic support by the county people so far, and the community and a small team of folks and a new partnership in terms of helping us run the drive-in. And I'd like to introduce John and his team, two daughters and a granddaughter who are going to be the new face of the drive-in. So basically the partnership is that the family's going to own and start up the business, make the investments. We need a significant facelift, as you can see, just by driving by it. And then we'll have a lease agreement with John and his family, and they're going to operate the business on behalf of us and the community. And we've been working hand in hand. This is a small subset of a bigger team. It's all local people from Fluvanna County that are participating, providing all sorts of support for us. Right now, as you know, we need new bathrooms, new septic, new screen, new projector, facelift of the concession stand, new entrance from VDOT requirements, new sign. So we'll have a new facelift. So we're in the process of getting our permits straightened out. Preparing for major upgrades this summer once we get the building permit and everything squared away. And we're also in the process of fundraising. We have secured a small business loan, so we will be starting on that. But we'll be looking for ways to raise more money to be able to move forward. But we're confident that's going to happen. We've had overwhelming community support, 1,366 signatures today, as of today. 358 shares, 38 promotions where people say, hey, you should help these folks out. 5,000 views and $11,085 donation so far. So that's on top of almost a $200,000 business loan that we've been able to pull together. So I feel that all the stars are aligning. We have the family support, wonderful family support. We have a wonderful team as an operator, and it's really a community event. We're very excited about being here and reaching this milestone. John, would you like to say anything?
I don't know. I'm doing that. Of course, I'm a Fluvanna resident since 1981. I moved here in 81, so I got a lot of years here. So and I've been a Fork Union resident for most of that anyway. So I used to work there back in the 80s, and I worked for FF when he ran. There used to be an Amoco at Weber City. Now it's a VP, but yeah, Sarah worked there. Becca worked there. You know, of course, my granddaughter hadn't worked there. She's not old enough, but she'll get her sights in there. So, but no, we're looking forward to it, and it's going to be a great family style event there. We don't want riffraff and whatever. We got security. That's going to be a big part of that, you know, to help us out throughout the when we open for movies and stuff. So we're looking for a full house, you know, the first weekend. Again, we want to have a car show there in September, and this September, and then the movies will be April 26th.
So just to you know, if everything goes as we hope it will, you know, we would like to be able to start construction on the bathrooms and septic by the end of the summer, so we can have the concession stand up and running by the fall. We'd like to do a ribbon cutting with all of you invited, make it a community celebration that we're getting it up and running. We won't have everything done most likely the screen will be spill into the winter time. So well, our plan is to maybe do a handful of events this fall and then open with movies first weekend of April. Just like you would remember.
Spring break.
Huh?
Spring break.
Spring break. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of our phasing. There's a lot of pieces that have to fall in place over the next several weeks, but with some luck, we hope to have some sort of celebration opening event, series of events in September, October.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, open up to public comment. Anybody listening to speak, please speak with more than 5 minutes. See now, we'll not close. Wait for that.
Name and address.
Hi, I'm Sandra Linder Turner. I live at 1801 East River Road, Fork Union. I've been here since 2015. I've watched Fork Union just become sad. We lost the bank. We lost the Village Restaurant. We've lost the IGA, which then became a country market, and we lost that. So we really do need this drive-in. And so I just want to tell you we support it. Thank you.
I'm her husband, David Turner. We live between Fork Union and Columbia off of Route 6. As you said, we've been here about 15. Yeah, 15 when we moved down here, so it's been 10 years. Yeah, honestly, in our first week or two here, we drove around and saw where the drive-in was and said, wow, I grew up in a very rural section of West Virginia, and the only thing we had for entertainment was a drive-in theater. So I remember my parents would always take us out on the weekends. Dad had to work, during the week, but we'd go there on the weekend just to drive in. That was our break in things, just fun to have. And we've been talking to the folks here. We want to help out what we can, and just glad to see this coming back. My wife mentioned the Fork Union's got some issues right now, but this will be a good thing to look at in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Now, so yeah, we'll close public comment. Anybody?
I got a few things I just want to say. Ron, we had our first meeting, I think it was probably about a year ago this time, and I was, certainly optimistic, but, I've been living here 10 years now, since 2015, and I think that was about a year after it closed, and all I've ever heard is my wife and everybody she grew up with talk about how wonderful the drive-in was, and their memories and things like that. And I guess I will say I was cautiously optimistic because it had been 10 years, and it's sat there, and here we are, and it's certainly just very, very special moment for me and this community for what you have and your family and John and Sarah and Becca and all of you have done to make this a possibility. And I just want to, I think I speak on behalf of most of the folks in Fork Union when I say thank you for what you all are doing. Ms. Understall, thank you to your family for making this happen and doing this for the community. Thank you to the community. Ron, you said it yourself. This is something that I think there's one profession, someone in one profession in Fork Union that you can find, and we've plucked them, and we've found a way, and you have found a way to have that person help you accomplish your goals. And this is truly a community effort. Everybody has pitched in, and like I said, I cannot wait to hear those things from my front porch. I heard music we moved in about 4 days ago, and I could hear music through the woods, and I was like, man, I can't wait for that to be the drive-through. I have had some messages, some people, not to put a negative spin on it, reach out about traffic, and my response is that's a good problem to have in Fork Union. It's a very good problem to have in Fork Union, and I think this will lead to a revitalization. Jennifer, thank you for all your help with economic development. Small Business Development Center has also been vital in this, but truly, Ron, Allison, you and the family, and John and Sarah and Becca, you guys have been great, and I can't wait to see this thing happen. So thank you very much.
And I'll say a few things. Thank y'all. Our fathers were very close friends, and it's very nice to see this coming back. And I can remember my dad stuffing as many of us into his station wagon as he could and driving right by the the ticket booth and then walking up there and said, I had 3.
Good news is it's per car now, from what I
Hey,
understand.
well, it's a very good thing. And anybody that talks about traffic, just go sit at the entrance of the drive-in between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, or between 4:30 and 5:30 at night. It won't be any more traffic than what you have, because everybody from Buckingham drives right through there going home. Because it's, it goes up through Slater Sport. So thank y'all, and look forward to the opportunity to go see you. And you talked about West Virginia and Fluvanna. The only other 2 things we had were the rivers. We had to drive in and 2 rivers. So that was it.
Anybody else?
You're here.
Yeah. All right.
I moved the Board of Supervisors.
Oh,
Really?
oh, you gonna take this one from me?
I thought this is the one you can't.
No, I can't. I don't have to abstain from this.
No,
one.
I thought this was the one you had to take off.
No, that was a sign one.
Okay, just
yeah.
fine.
We'll give you the second.
Yeah, you can have.
I
the
could
third.
care less on that.
You can preface your second with another story if you want to.
I got plenty of.
I move that the Board of Supervisors approve SUP 2503, a special use permit request in the B1 Commercial General District for an outdoor entertainment site under section 22-9-2.2 on 2 parcels identified as tax maps 51-A-61 and 51-A-62, subject to the conditions that's described in the staff report.
I will second, and I will tell you this. My first night out on the town, I was 14, and one of my buddies got his license. And he came by and picked up 2 of us. Sean Haney picked up Garth Wade and I, and off to the drive-in we went. First time my parents ever let me go somewhere by myself.
What movie did you see?
I ain't got no idea.
I motion made by
Grease.
Mr. Go, seconded by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor.
Aye.
Or Rambert. Anything in the 70s and 80s.
Okay. We're going to item H, public hearing, does amend section 4-2-1 and 4-2-1.1. Provide for lifetime individual dog license.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So section Virginia Code section 3.2-6528 authorizes local governments to either have an annual or lifetime license tax on dogs at least 4 months old. So the individual tax cannot exceed $10. The lifetime tax cannot exceed $50. So currently, section 4-2-1, the county code is an annual dog license tax when the dogs are 4 months old. For a male dog, it's $8. For a spayed or neutered male or female dog, it's $4. And then for a kennel, it's $40 if you have less than 20 dogs. And for less than 50 dogs, a kennel is $50. So the proposed amendments, we would have a lifetime license tax of $10. And then the license would remain valid for the lifetime as long as the rabies vaccination is kept current. And the dog license is not transferable to another animal. So if your dog passes away, you can't transfer it to the, puppy you buy a replacement. And so the duplicate license, if you do lose your license, would be $1, and the kennel fee would stay the same. I saw a Powhatan switch to a lifetime license last week as well. So it makes sense. So you're seeing more counties do this. So the public hearing has been properly advertised. If approved, the ordinance will be effective 30 days after approval. So that would give Ms. Rittenhouse time to order the lifetime tax, and then she'd be prepared this fall to work towards that.
So the kennel tag would be $40 for the lifetime of the kennel?
So the kennel fee would stay the same, where it is now at $40 if you don't have more than 20 dogs, and $50 if you don't have more than 50 dogs.
That's a lot of dog food.
All right, any
I got 5.
questions for Mr. Whitman?
No, I think this is a good thing. I run the numbers when I was an employee looking at this for Miss Leonard, put them all into a spreadsheet, and we lose money on this program every year.
All right.
I do think too.
Looks like we can open up the public comment. Anybody should speak.
Yeah, we're apart.
Well, I've got a story.
Seeing none. We'll now bring it to the board for Mike's story.
Nope.
I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the ordinance to amend the county code sections 4-2-1 and 4-2-1.1 to provide for lifetime individual dog tags.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Doe, second by Mr. Hyde, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. IZMP 2501 to dash on behalf of EHL Group et al. Mr. Porter.
Good evening again. You can go ahead, Eric. So this is a board-initiated rezoning request that's to amend the county zoning map, specifically tax map 11, section 9, parcel 3, a request to rezone from A1 agricultural general to I1 industrial limited. The parcel in question is approximately 36.187 acres, located on US 15 North, East Madison Highway on the west side of the highway, roughly a mile south of the intersection with US 250. The parcel is within the Zion Crossroads CPA, the Zion Crossroads UDA, and it's within the Columbia election district. You can go ahead, Eric. General location of the parcel. You can go ahead, Eric. And then the aerial map, you'll notice that most of the surrounding parcels are A1. There is one across the street that's already I1. And then there's one a little bit north of there, which is also I1. So there are some industrial properties in the general area. You can go ahead, Eric. Again, Zion Crossroads UDA and CDA. The owners have agreed to participate in the further advancement and development of this parcel, being its location in the UDA and the CPA. They have also signed a proper statement limiting allowed uses on the subject parcel. And if you go to the next slide, Eric, I'll go over those uses. These are uses that are proffered out per the agreed to proper statement. By right uses proffered out, flea markets, self-storage facilities, car washes, indoor shooting ranges, transportation terminals, lumber yards, railroad facilities, solid waste collection facilities, temporary wood storage facilities. And then SUP uses that are being proffered out per the agreement are outdoor shooting ranges, sanitary landfills, permanent sawmills, solid waste material recovery facilities, truck terminals, aviation facilities, minor scale solar generation facilities, utility scale solar generation facilities, and major utilities. So the technical review committee did look at this back in May, and they had no concerns with the rezoning itself. The only comment came from VDOT, and they just said any future site plans they would need to look at just to be sure the entrances will comply with existing regulations. Go to the next slide, Eric. And again, to reiterate, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, it is located within the Zion Crossroads CPA and UDA. Per the county's comprehensive plan, that area is envisioned as the most intensely developed part of the county, which have mixed use, including industrial. And I'll bring your attention to that second bullet point and the sub bullet point under Chapter 5, Economic Development in the comp plan. States that Zion Crossroads is the county's primary commercial node with primary retail, office uses, and light industrial. It also incorporates mixed use, mixed income residential development. So basically, the rezoning would further the county's efforts per the comprehensive plan and that particular goal. You can go ahead, Eric. Planning Commission held their public hearing June 10th and voted 5-0 to recommend approval. At this point, I will take any questions the board may have.
Anything?
You shouldn't.
Did anybody else have the thought about Good Morning Vietnam when he started spitting out all those letters? No, I did not. I did. I just had to ask. I'm sorry. I apologize. It is. It might have been the movie I watched.
Oh,
Anybody else have any?
one other comment as far as the proffers, the owner will be donating an acre of land to the county. And so there'll be a deed of gift that I'll be drafting. So that's a further benefit to the county.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. We will now open it up for the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak to the board, please direct it towards us and keep to 5 minutes.
Never seen someone eat a Reese's.
Hey, Rainier, 3531 Union Mills Road. And again, you know, I talk about the taxes all the time. So if I understand this correctly, they're gonna, you know, the land value will increase because it's now going to be industrial property. But they will only still pay land use taxes until that land is actually developed. which to me is not fair, again, across the board, for all the rest of the taxpayers, because if that land is rezoned, it is now in a higher value, property. And it should be taxed as a higher value property. And like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. My only concern is that there is fair taxation for all taxpayers of the county. This is not fair taxation. And again, I spoke when it came up to the committee, before you guys advertised it, it's just not fair. I mean, even if it rolls back 5 years, it's increased in value exponentially. So again, I think we all need to be considering fair taxation for everybody in this county when we need the revenue for all the other projects, the schools, the rescue, the fire, whatever roads. And we seem to always forget that. And it's easy. I mean, we're leaving millions of dollars on the table because we're picking and choosing. And again, I'm all about good rules and good laws, but then they should apply to all. There should not be exceptions ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, we will close public hearing. For discussion?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Move the board of supervisors approve the NP 2501, a request of the Fluvanna County zoning map rezone district 36. Rezone district 36.187 plus or minus acres. Tax map 11, section 9, parcel 3 from A1 agricultural general to I1 industrial limited, subject to revised proffers dated June 5th, 2025.
Second. Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Item J, ZTA 2502, amendments to the Fluvanna County zoning ordinances, amending 22-22-1 to add a definition for solid waste and remove the word municipal from the definitions of solid waste, material recovery facility, and solid waste collection facility. Mr. Fortune.
Good evening again. Can you give us just a second?
Yes, sir.
What'd you say? Oh, we go back to sports.
Here's the motion slide. I apologize, I had a couple of typos.
The proffers are dated. Right?
It says you were revising, revised. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would rather be right.
Yeah, the proffers were not revised. What revised, what was originally submitted was the final proffers.
Okay, so unfortunately, there were 2 typos on that slide. The word revised should not be in there and the word district should not be in there.
What was the other word? I'm sorry, the second word?
District and revised.
Oh,
Right
okay.
here, that word.
And it was giving Tony a fit.
I mean, do you want to go back here? I'll have to do a motion to
I
reconsider.
want to redo that.
Let's remake the motion.
And then remake the motion. Do a first motion to reconsider and then a second motion.
I'll make a motion to reconsider.
I'll second the motion to reconsider.
Motion made by Mr. Sheridan, seconded by Mr. Hodge, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And then we would need a new motion
To drop the word district.
without the word district.
Revised.
I move the board of supervisors approves the NP 2501 request to amend Fluvanna County zoning map rezone 36.187 plus or minus acres of tax map 11, section 9, parcel 3, from A1 agricultural general to I1 industrial limited, subject to the proffers paid.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Sheridan, all in favor? Chair votes aye, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And my
All right.
apologies again for that oversight.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a proposed zoning text amendment to amend the county code section 22-22-1. A couple of changes here. We're adding a definition for solid waste and we're removing the word municipal from the definitions of solid waste material recovery facility and solid waste collection facility, and also adding to both of those definitions. We have a link there to the proposed ordinance. I've got a copy here. I can read it if you would like. That's really up to the board. I can read the changes if you'd like.
I don't think we need it. You,
Seen it like 3 times on the planning commission.
yeah,
Yeah, Eric has up on the screen there, so you can go to the next slide, Eric.
Basically just referencing the Virginia Code definition.
Yeah. So originally, we went to the planning commission with an amendment to the zoning text amendment simply to remove the word municipal from the 2 definitions. There was some concern at the time that we were opening the door to allow hazardous waste to come in, which was not our intention. So after that discussion, the planning commission deferred it. We went back to the drawing board, did some additional research, and I made some amendments to the proposed ZTA, which were brought back to the commission in May. They authorized for a public hearing in June. And at that public hearing, they voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the changes. You can go to the next slide, Eric. So yeah, basically, they're just adding a definition for solid waste, as Dan mentioned, for Code of Virginia. And again, changing the definitions for solid waste material recovery facility and solid waste collection facility. And we did, in our revised ETA, go to some effort to safeguard against hazardous waste being brought in. But with that, I'll take any questions.
So just to reiterate for those online and those who may not have read it, no nuclear material, no radioactive waste, no biohazard waste, no interplanetary waste or anything else that's going to affect or kill the citizens of Fluvanna County. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And it's just garbage.
Anything that poses a substantial present or potential hazard. So I think all those things.
Yeah.
Like, so I think we're good.
I must have fielded 10 phone calls around that.
all right, anybody, any more questions or thoughts to Mr. Fortune? All right, we'll open the public hearing. Please keep it to 5 minutes and direct it to the board. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Discussion? Motion?
I move the Board of Supervisors approve ZTA 2502, an ordinance to amend and reordain the code of the County of Fluvanna, Virginia by amending sections 22-22-1 to add a definition for solid waste and remove the word municipal from the definitions of solid waste material recovery facility and solid waste collection facility.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hyde, second by Mr. Goode, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Item L, state-funded bonuses for department.
No, missed the authorization to advertise. For
Oh, I did, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, public
Public
hearing
hearing, I'm sorry, that's on
Yep.
the wrong
for the
one.
First Amendment of the lease agreement with Celico Partnership doing business with Verizon Wireless, Mr. Whitman.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this is for the lease agreement with Verizon, which was executed October 20th, 2011. This is the lease on the water tower now in Fremont Bluff, US 15. So the current rent is $2,643 a month. So under the proposed lease amendments, they'll be adding some equipment, which is shown as the exhibits. And then they'll have a proposed increase in rent, which will go up to $2,749 a month. And then there'll be another increase in 2026 to $2,831 a month. So we have a consultant, Cityscape, who reviewed the amendment, provides some suggested language for access, public safety, and water supply facility and protection for the public in the amendment. So that has been sent to Verizon. They've reviewed that. And so basically, under the state code, we do have to have a public hearing anytime we amend a lease that involves disposition of county property. So public hearing has been properly advertised. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Was the consultant also advising as to whether the new amounts were in keeping with what they should
Correct.
be? Okay.
So they look at them, they're based out of Florida, but they look at regional national market
I
rates.
see.
And so they're able to tell us, because we're not experts in that field, so they can tell us where it needs to be. And because if you don't have a consultant, then Verizon's don't have the upper hand.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense to have a consultant that knows the market rate for this area.
And they're able to really like kind of flesh out some of the differences. Well, if someone comes and says, "Oh, we're just replacing equipment," like,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's not a like for like replacement. So they're able to really kind of like differentiate, is this, you know, a major increase or a major replacement, or is it actually a like for like replacement? And the nice thing too, as we talked about Fork Union Sanitary District, the revenue for this goes to the Fork Union.
Well, that was my question. All of the revenue or just the increase?
All the revenue.
Okay.
And this is on just the water tower.
Correct.
Plus the water tower.
Yep.
And our consultant is marketing, the water tower up
Yeah.
on 250 and 15 as well. So they're marketing other opportunities to try to get more tenants as well for other facilities.
Other questions? We'll open up the public hearing. Please keep all comments and questions directed to the board and to 5 minutes. Seeing none. Bring it back to the board for discussion.
Move the Board of Supervisors approve the First Amendment to the water tower lease agreement with Cello Partnership. I always want to, I said that last time, with Celco Partnership, DVA Verizon Wireless, and authorize the county administrator to sign the agreement subject to the approval as to form by the county attorney.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Goode, second by Mr. Hodge. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye 5-0. Moving on to item L, state funded bonuses for Department of Social Services, Registrar's Office, Electoral Board. Mr. Whitten.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So in May, the state budget bill that was signed by the governor, there was a one-time bonus for the registrar and for the members of the local electoral board. Bonuses don't require a local funding match, and the county will be reimbursed. As well, in the budget bill, there is a bonus for social services for eligible employees, and this was as part of the medical assistance renewals. So basically, it rewards local employees with social services that exceed expectations in processing medical assistance renewals. So it's a performance-based bonus, and these bonuses don't require a local funding match. So the registrar and finance director did receive a request on June 6th from the State Board of Elections for that bonus, and then the county administrator did receive a letter from DSS commissioner requesting the bonus on April 23rd. And the DSS board did pass a resolution on May 19th. So code authority, Virginia code does require the payment of bonuses to be authorized by ordinance. And it's interesting, I found a limitation in our muni code. When you search the word bonus, it doesn't show up in our code. And so recently, when we were talking about bonuses for constitutional officers, I was flipping through our code and I noticed the word bonuses is in our code. So for some reason, the singular does not show up. So I realized we actually do have a section that talks about bonuses in our code. So that's why going forward, we don't have to have separate public hearings. It looks like the code was changed in 2011 to add the word bonuses. So as long as the board passes a motion approving the bonus, then we don't have to have a separate public hearing for each bonus.
Yeah,
So that's
like-
good moving forward.
Yeah, like these actually weren't needed, again, you just have to approve the bonus like I brought forward for the constitutional officer.
And I may ask Unicode if we can change that feature. So when you search the singular, the plural shows up as well. That's kind of a limiting factor. So public hearing has been properly advertised. There is 2 suggested motions in your packet, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right.
It's that open public hearing, correct?
It's not, it was advertised in the public hearing, so we still.
We'll open a public hearing. Please keep your questions and comments directed to the board and to 5 minutes. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Discussion.
I move the Board of Supervisors authorize a 1.5% monetary bonus to Fluvanna County Registrar and to the members of the Fluvanna Electoral Board pursuant to section 15.2-1508 of the Code of Virginia.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Goode, seconded by Mr. Hodge. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye 5-0.
I move the Board of Supervisors authorize a 1.5% monetary bonus to eligible employees of the Department of Social Services pursuant to sections 15.2-1508 of the Code of Virginia.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hodge, seconded by Mr. Goode. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye 5-0. Consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Hodge, seconded by Mr. O'Brien. All in favor?
Aye.
Did you vote?
I did. Aye.
The chair votes aye 5-0. All right, unfinished business?
What's that? Follow. Distribution calls for services.
Yep, I've got a note. I'll get with Mr. Morris and Mr. Fick on those calls.
Anything else?
And when you do that, you've got to look both ways because sometimes we give mutual aid, but we also
Yeah, it'd be
receive
nice.
mutual
It'd also
aid.
be nice because I know that Dominion accident with the right outside the academy. Buckingham, Arvonia was there at
Well,
that.
The rest, when we had the fatal accident at Dixon, you had Goochland, Buckingham. We had everybody show up.
And most of the calls in the southern part of the Cunningham district are responded to by Scottsville.
It's
And
not-
almost all the water rescue, we get Albemarle and Scottsville out as well as Lake Monticello.
Not just most of it, everything from rolling. Albemarle still covers everything rescue wise. Is it from Rolling Road west,
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, since we got
But
Scottsville.
I will say that that's different in that that's a formal agreement.
Well, that's a formal
Yeah.
agreement, but that, I'm just saying, but the
Because-
fire doesn't. That's not a formal agreement. Fire still responds.
Yep.
Eric, didn't you have something about reappropriation?
Yeah, for new business, yeah.
Oh, was that old business? Sorry, I thought it was new.
Okay. Anything else unfinished? Let's move to new business.
Yeah, so under new business one. So currently for the fiscal year 25 budget, we had, it was a little over 500,000 to purchase an ambulance. The department, after looking, they actually found a good, basically a brand new demo ambulance that, wasn't custom served all the needs and had all the features that they needed. So when it was all said and done, we ended up purchasing an ambulance and getting everything we needed for like 55,000. So currently what is left in that budget line is $155,270.02. So one, we have ALS one, which is the red vehicle that the medics drive that the county was donated that vehicle from Fluvanna Rescue prior to them dissolving. And so it's a 2008 it's like a
GMC Yukon.
Yeah, GMC Yukon. I think it has like 60 or 70,000 miles. It doesn't have a lot of miles, but the miles it has are hard miles. Again, if you think about sheriff's vehicles and stuff like that, they're generally responding pretty quick to calls. And so we're starting to see, it's becoming unreliable. Let's just say that. Since September of 2024, we've spent a little over $8,200 in repairs on the vehicle. And as the emergency services department noted, right now, I think the Kelly Blue Book on it is like about $6,000. And so for one, with it being an ALS and an important vehicle to have, I'm requesting to see if we can reappropriate this money. And so it's going to be in the same line, but this is just for clarity because it's an emergency vehicle. So we're not moving money, but to utilize the remaining money to purchase that vehicle and the chief of fire and rescue vehicle as well. And so we are thinking we can certainly cover this vehicle 100%, probably about half of that money. The chief of fire and rescue vehicle, maybe a little bit more depending on the box that's needed inside, but I would come back to the board once we do that. And speaking with Mr. Morris, it'd probably be good to wait on purchasing a chief of fire and rescue vehicle before the chief of fire and rescue came on, because whatever layouts and cabinets and things in the back what he noted would be probably good for that person to have some input on that. But so I'm just requesting this full amount to be kind of reappropriated or reused in kind of a similar but different fashion.
It would come up in CIP anyways, at some point.
A week ago, I think we had to reach
We
out and
borrowed.
borrow utility 32, one of the utility vehicles for Kempsdorf. And they were able to work with Chief Pullen and get that so that they could use that as a response vehicle.
It's important when you need ALS one.
And the vehicle that you have has to have medical on it. I know Chief 31, if y'all like to hear from him, he can come say something because he'd be able to speak about that.
And he's president of the FRA.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, chairman of the FRA. Congrats to me. Yeah, I one correction. I think it's an 18 Yukon, but that thing is not safe.
Oh, it's not an 18.
It's not.
No.
Well,
It's like-
either way, it's
like an 08, right?
Yeah, it's
07 or 08.
I've driven that vehicle. It's not safe. It has pretty bad suspension issues. I agree with you on, and with, Chief Morris, retired Chief Morris. Whoever comes into that role is probably gonna want to spec what they want into the, back of the,
Chief's vehicle.
Chief's vehicle, because people have their own, they may not want a full SUV, they may want a police, Explorer type of SUV. So I would wait for them, but, yeah, Kent Store lent, utility 32 for them to utilize, and I think they used that for 3 or 4 days, to give them that capability. If they don't have it, then it makes it more difficult to get ALS. I mean, I heard you guys talking about the mutual aid agreement. We end up having to reach out a little bit more than we should. If we don't have someone available to augment a staff or augment a crew that's delivering EMS services to give them that advanced level care.
So as chairman of the FRA now, are you endorsing Mr. Dahl's proposal for what?
To replace ALS one?
Yes, and
I can answer questions about what it's for, but personally I'll endorse it, but I can't make that call because we haven't spoken about it on behalf of the FRA.
Collective.
Yeah, that's my only concern is because every time we talk about something and make a decision, it seems like it's like a great decision at the time, and then it's like you hear a bunch of complaints and it's like, oh, maybe it wasn't, and then we go back to the drawing board.
Well, don't be concerned. We're here to make the decisions and.
Yeah.
Let's
This
make
one's
what
a
we
little
need
bit
to.
different than some of the other decisions that we've made. This is one of those things where we need a vehicle. The other day, until we loaned them utility 32, they were driving with the additional medic just on the rescue squad with them.
The votes are there. The votes are there. I think.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Well, if we
Mr.
have
O'Brien, is that a motion?
But please do, Mike.
Yeah, we don't have one written up.
No,
I'll make a motion that we approve Mr. Dahl's suggestion to go ahead and purchase a utility vehicle for EMS.
How about reappropriate 155,270.02 from the ambulance to the replace.
ALS one response car.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we do exactly what Mr. Dahl just said.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Sheridan, second by Mr. Hodge, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Thank you. No more new business, correct? All right. We'll open the second round of public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board, please do so. Keep 5 minutes direct to the board.
Don Raynard, 3531 Union Mills Road. If you look back at 8E and 8F on your agenda, those are two items that show and should highlight the results of not treating everybody equally and not treating situations equally. Because, I would bet you that Mr. O'Brien would love to see his constituents have a $30 a month water bill. He'd be the most popular person in Fluvanna County. Versus Mr. Goode is going to get about 1,000 phone calls if his constituents go up to $30 a month. And no, Lake Monticello did not give and Aqua did not inherit that water system. They bought it, and they knew exactly what they were buying, and they did it in good faith. But when you have people in different neighborhoods that pay substantially different water rates, and I get that none of us like large increases. And this past tax season is a good example of what happens when reassessments and things of that nature happen. But you can't keep underwriting water systems for one neighborhood and then not underwrite a water system for another neighborhood. And, you have some people that are upset about a $30 water bill. You have other people that are upset about a $200 water bill a month. And the same thing is going to happen if we don't quit making exceptions for special interest groups. And they're never popular, but in the end, if everybody's treated the same, then we all share in good times and bad times together. And we're not doing that presently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patty Rayner, 3531 Union Mills Road, and just to continue that discussion I think that it's just a perfect example of politics. We are voting on these issues because we want the votes to stay in our positions here. So we're not voting, to be fair and equal. We're voting to keep our seat in the political position that we're in, that you all are in. I'm not in a political position, and I'm only interested in what's fair for all taxpayers. And that's the situation. And that is what I talk about basically every board meeting, is about the taxes and how unequal and unfair they are. And this is just another example. And on the Fork Union water system, if you're getting $30-some thousand a year that goes to that, and then you increase the rate to what it should be, then there you go. You can fix that problem. But it is certainly not up to the rest of the taxpayers in this county to fund that. And that's what ends up happening. We pass that along to everybody else who is already overtaxed. Not the land use taxpayers, because they're undertaxed. And again, I guess I understand that the Commissioner of Revenue is going to be retiring. Why is that not published anywhere? I think that's a very important issue that I would like to know about. I think the rest of the people in the county would like to know about that too, because I talk about these taxes every meeting. And we publish all these ordinances, we publish everything else, but there is no mention of that in the Fluvanna Review, the Rural Virginian, or anywhere. Website? Nowhere. So I think that we need to be very, very transparent about all issues, especially when it affects every taxpayer of this county. I mean, I'm still waiting to hear about when we were going to have, I guess our attorney here do a presentation on land use. They were supposed to be scheduling that for August. I haven't heard any mention of that. There was also supposed to be a follow-up with the Commissioner of Revenue. No mention of when that's going to take place. Even more important now. And Town Hall, still waiting for that. These are all the things that I come to the board every meeting and ask for help with. I am very concerned as a taxpayer. I've lived in this county my entire life. And when we talk about the drive-in, that is wonderful. And you think about, didn't have anything? We did. We had car dealership. We had the railroad. We had a lot of things in this county that we no longer have because we pushed the businesses out. Then we pick and choose who we want to give tax breaks to. And every time I hear the word grant, you know what that means? Taxpayers are going to pick up. It's like you say it like it's a magic bucket of money that just falls out of the sky from somewhere. All grants are another bucket of how do we tax somebody more to give this money someplace else? That's just wrong. I would like for the board to maybe be a little bit more transparent and come up with these dates for the things that can be discussed. Because we can't discuss anything here. All we can do is share our concerns and then it ends. Nobody does anything after that.
Anybody else wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, we will close the second round of public comment.
Yeah, I move by County Board of Supervisors being entered into the closed session. Central provisions of section 2003-37.
Okay, we're top one.
One, personnel matters. Part of the minutes for the purposes of discussing. Performance evaluation.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Sheridan, second, O'Brien, second by Mr. Sheridan. Well, he called himself Sheridan a little bit ago, so. All in favor? Chair votes aye, 5-0.
And we'll go over to the Morris room so we can close down in here. I got cold.
Well,
They are no ads.
there's a bunch of crap. We're good. I'm at Durham. We're good.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I move close meeting be adjourned and the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors convene again in open session, be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors does hereby certify to the best of each member's knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, and two, only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting.
Second. Motion made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Sheridan, Mr. Dode. Aye. Mr. O'Brien.
You're gonna do it for me. Aye.
Mr. Sheridan. Mr. Hodge. Aye. Chair votes aye 5-0.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Hodge. Rock, paper, scissors. Mr. Sheridan. Second, all in favor? Aye. Chair votes aye. Karen Bowles is listed in here.
Yeah.
She said $200 from,
Kansas Department of Labor, right?
but if they know they owe me, how come, if they made that list, you know, International Filter Service.
I do.